Max Payne is seen drowning in a river full of bodies while thinking about his dead family. The story actually goes back 1 week earlier at the NYPD office. A supervisor is introducing a new guy and tells him that all the unsolvable cases usually end up on Max's desk in the cold case unit. The new guy tries to talk to Max, but Max does not respond at all. While they are walking, the new guy asks the supervisor about Max. The supervisor explains that Max's family was killed by someone and the killers were never found, so it is better to just leave him alone. Later, Max arms himself and goes to an empty subway station where 3 junkies are using a blue drug. They notice his watch and follow him into the bathroom. One of them points a gun at him and asks for the watch.
Not tonight.
That's too bad.
Max calmly says he bought it from a pawn shop and points at a man named Doug, saying he was there too. The man gets suspicious and asks if Max is a cop. Max says not tonight and admits he is only following Doug. When they step closer, Max suddenly shoots the gunman. Doug runs into the stalls while the 3rd junkie runs onto the subway tracks. Max shoots through the stall doors until he reaches Doug and notices a strange wing tattoo on his arm. He shows Doug a photo of a woman and asks about her, but Doug denies knowing anything. When asked about a robbery from 6 months earlier, Doug says his partner was killed by something he calls wings. Meanwhile, the 3rd junkie keeps seeing shadowy wings chasing him on the tracks. In panic, he tries to fight them and gets hit by a subway train.
William Preston was a dead end.
Max then visits Trevor and says Doug was a dead end. Trevor is hosting a party and tells Max he has been chasing ghosts for 3 years, but Max threatens him anyway. A girl named Natasha approaches and Trevor introduces her. Max notices she also has the same wing tattoo. Soon some Russians arrive and Natasha becomes nervous. A woman named Mona Sachs tries to take her away, but Max interferes. Natasha convinces Mona to leave and later reveals Mona is her sister. Trevor asks Max to leave, but he keeps searching for Natasha inside the house. He notices several people with the same wing tattoos and others using the blue drug in different rooms. A man named Jack Lupino, with wing tattoos on his face, quietly stands beside him. Before anything happens, Natasha returns and leaves with Max. Later, a girl at the party takes the blue drug and starts seeing shadowy wings. At Max's apartment, Natasha tries to seduce him, but he ignores it and asks about Lupino and the strange party. Natasha avoids answering and asks about the woman who left him, which angers Max, and he tells her to leave. Later in an alley, Natasha begins seeing winged creatures chasing her. She falls and gets attacked, while Lupino watches from a rooftop with a sword. The next day, Max's partner Alex takes him to a crime scene where a woman's body is found with Max's ID. Max realizes it is Natasha. Alex asks him to explain before others question him, but Max insists he is innocent. He also blames Alex for failing to solve the murder of his wife Michelle and says one killer is still free. Alex says he did his best, but Max walks away. Meanwhile, Mona learns about Natasha's death during a meeting. At the same time, Alex studies the crime photos and notices Natasha's wing tattoo, realizing it matches one of Michelle's killers. He quickly leaves Max a message saying he has found a connection between the 2 murders and is coming to his apartment. Around the same time, Mona is visited by a police informant who gives her Max's card found at the crime scene. After hearing Alex's message, Max goes to his apartment but finds the door already open. Inside, he discovers Alex's dead body. Someone suddenly attacks Max and beats him badly, though Max manages to fire his gun before passing out. Max later wakes up in a hospital with his old friend B.B. Hensley beside him. Hensley tells him Alex is dead, and the department suspects Max of the murder. Max still insists on attending Alex's funeral, so Hensley takes him to Pharmaceuticals where he works as head of security, and where Michelle once worked. There they briefly meet the CEO, Nicole Horn, who says everyone still misses Michelle. At the funeral, Alex's wife Krista slaps Max and blames him, saying Alex never found peace because he felt he had failed to bring Michelle's killers to justice. She tells Max to leave. Outside, Detective Jim Bravura questions Max about Natasha having his wallet and about his connection to Trevor. When Jim points out that Max was the last person to see both Natasha and Alex alive, Max simply walks out. Max then goes to Alex's unit at the police station. Ignoring the angry officers, he locks himself inside Alex's office and searches the files.
Back up, goddammit! Make a hole! Open up, Max!
He finds a page from Natasha's file and realizes her wing tattoo matches one of Michelle's killers. By the time the officers break the door down, Max has already escaped through the window. Later, Max tells Hensley that Alex had discovered something about Michelle's killer, but Hensley tries to calm him down. Max leaves and soon notices men following him. He lures them into an alley, but Mona suddenly appears behind him with a gun, demanding answers about Natasha. Max explains his partner was killed too, and they are chasing the same man. He mentions Owen Green, the last person Natasha called, and asks Mona to help him find him. Max and Mona track Owen to an abandoned building. They hear him shouting and find him in terrible shape, staring at the ceiling as if he sees shadowy wings. Max notices the same wing tattoo on his arm. Owen walks toward the window, saying the wings took Natasha, but suddenly, something unseen pulls him down and kills him. Nearby, Lupino quietly watches the scene with a sword in his hand. Mona then takes Max to the tattoo shop where Natasha got the wing tattoo. The artist explains that the design comes from Norse mythology and people get it for protection. At the same time, Lupino is seen forcing the blue drug into someone's mouth and then killing him with a machete when he asks for more. Mona later questions a gangster named Lincoln about the tattoos. Lincoln says the devil is building an army and the wings are his mark. He reveals the devil's name is Lupino and that he can be found at a club called Ragnarok. Before Mona leaves, she asks about Max Payne. Lincoln warns that Max is chasing something even God wants hidden and tells her to stay away from him. Meanwhile, Max keeps thinking about the wings and goes to a storage unit filled with old case files. While checking Michelle's work records, he finds the same wing symbol connected to an Acer Pharmaceuticals file. Max then confronts Hensley and asks why someone would want Michelle's work files. After some pressure, Hensley tells him her supervisor was Jason Colvin. As Max leaves, Hensley secretly calls Detective Jim and explains that Max believes someone at Acer is responsible for his family's death, so he must be stopped before he does something reckless. At the same time, Jason Colvin shows Lupino's file to Acer CEO Nicole Horn and warns her to be careful. When Jason enters his office, he finds Max waiting for him. Max asks what Michelle was working on before her death. Jason claims it was nothing important and that no records remain. Max locks the door and starts threatening him for answers. When Jason's assistant Jackie knocks on the door, Jason panics and alerts everyone outside. Jackie calls Hensley for help. Under pressure, Jason finally admits that Michelle worked on a military drug project designed to create stronger soldiers. The drug only worked on a small number of people while others suffered hallucinations and violent addiction. Some test subjects even killed scientists to get more of the drug. Max asks if Michelle was killed because of this, but Jason denies it. He points to an envelope on his desk that contains all the details and begs Max to protect him from the people who killed Michelle. At the same time, Detective Jim notices armed security moving toward Jason's office. When Max comes out with Jason, one of the soldiers suddenly shoots Jason dead. A shootout begins while Jim calls for police backup. Max grabs the envelope near Jason's body and tries to escape, but Jim stops him with a gun. Max shows him the envelope and says Jason knew the truth. During their conversation, an explosion suddenly goes off and Max escapes. Later, Max shows Mona the files and a video from Acer. The footage explains that the blue drug was meant to create super soldiers. Lupino appears in the video claiming he has no side effects. Max realizes Lupino is the man responsible for both his wife's death and Natasha's. Mona tells him Lupino will be at Ragnarok. She warns Max that going there will get him killed, but Max goes anyway. At the club, Lupino takes the blue drug and screams into the night. Max storms the club and shoots his way through Lupino's men. Deep inside, Lupino suddenly attacks him and easily overpowers him. Just before Lupino kills him, Hensley appears and shoots Lupino dead. Max is confused and says Lupino did not even know who he was. Suddenly, Hensley's man Joe knocks Max unconscious and they cuff him. As they take Max away, Hensley reveals the truth. He admits that he killed Michelle because she discovered secrets in Acer's old files. After that, he spread the drug across the city and used Lupino and others for his own gain. He plans to stage Max's death as a junkie suicide and even puts blue drugs in his pocket. But Max suddenly fights back, punches Joe, and escapes by jumping into a river. Hensley and Joe shoot into the water and assume Max will freeze to death. Max nearly loses consciousness but manages to swim out. To survive, he takes the blue drug himself, which gives him sudden strength. With visions of winged creatures around him, he stands up and walks away. Later, Detective Jim tells another officer that he is investigating Jason Colvin's death and the attack on Max, so he has called in the FBI. At Acer, Hensley learns the FBI is arriving and quickly prepares to leave with heavy security. As they reach the parking area, the driver's body suddenly falls out of the car. Joe realizes Max is alive. Max appears and opens fire, killing several guards. Hensley and Joe escape into an elevator while Hensley calls Nicole asking for a helicopter. Max fights his way through more security guards. Hensley gives Joe C4 explosives and orders him to block Max from reaching the roof. During the fight, Max starts hallucinating winged creatures again. But Mona appears and calms him, reminding him the fight is not over. Meanwhile, Hensley reaches the roof, but Nicole keeps ignoring his calls. Joe plants the explosives, but Mona ambushes him and his men, shooting them before rushing into the elevator. As Joe dies, he triggers the explosives, and a massive blast shakes the building, sending debris crashing onto the street below. Max finally reaches the roof where he confronts Hensley and kills him. After taking his revenge, Max kneels at the edge of the building under a bright light, quietly thinking about his wife and child.